Today, March 28th, we see a lot of conjunction energy. Conjunctions are when the planetary bodies come into alignment in the same zodiac cycle. It is the energy of bringing two planetary bodies, their energies, their attributes, and their characteristics together in unison, forming this alliance of energy that's going to move in the same direction. It's often thought of as a time of bringing our energies into alignment, bringing those energies and those attributes of the planetary bodies into alignment, and allowing us to find this kind of centering of these planetary bodies. Yesterday we saw Venus, the planet of unconditional love and values, shift back into Pisces in its retrograde motion. And we're seeing the moon aligning with all of these planetary bodies. It is having an alignment here with Saturn as it moves towards this boundary of Pisces and Aries as we get ready to move into the new moon tomorrow. Now, this connection of Pisces and Aries energy, we have been seeing a lot of connections between these energies over the last couple of months since the beginning of 2025, and even further back while these planetary bodies have been sitting in Pisces, and we're seeing this shift of Neptune into Aries here on the 30th. Now, this shift of Neptune into Aries is going to be a big shift in the movement because Neptune only moves into new zodiac signs every 14 years. As a very outer planet, as a transpersonal planet, its movements through the zodiac cycle are very slow. This means that its energy has a more generational influence on us, a larger influence on us. And this shift between Pisces and Aries is extremely important to look at, as it is a shift from the last sign of the zodiac to the first sign of the zodiac. It is a shift from the end of a cycle to the beginning of a cycle. It is a shift from completion in its wholeness, this balance that is found in duality, in the understanding that everything is connected, to this energy of the self, this renewal of the self, from the cycles of the past. And this has been very important in a lot of people's personal developments as they're moving forward, because the endings and beginnings have been a very big theme that we work with in our lunar cycles, a very big theme that we work with through our lives. So the moon forming conjunctions with Saturn, the planet of structures, boundaries, the planet of karma, taking the lessons that we have learnt, is allowing us to align our inner self, this moon energy, our inner emotional self, with our taskmaster, the way that we turn up, the way that we build things, the boundaries that we hold, the way that we take the information that we have learnt and bring it into being, to build this foundational energy, to build things forward, to build ourselves, allowing us to get behind our actions, get behind our foundational steps forward, get behind the lessons that we have learned and bring them into our understanding from this place of intuitive knowing, this place of our emotional self. This alignment with Saturn is really telling us that we hold the structures and boundaries that are keys to bringing our inner self into being. And it's going to activate us to move into this energy of endings, this energies of Pisces energy, the mutable water sign, of transmuting our emotional waters into new beginnings, allowing us to wrap up the things that we have learned and really complementing the cycles that we have been moving through, that we will now be shifting and ending. Saturn is going to move into Aries in May, so it will make it shift into the new beginning of the zodiac cycle as well. So it is wrapping up the cycles that we have in the ways that we build and move forward. Next, we are going to see this conjunction of the moon and Venus, which has just moved back into Pisces to continue its retrograde motion. Now, retrograde motions are movements through the past, movements through the underworld, movements through the subconscious of ourself, allowing us to digest and bring to light those things that we need to release, those things that we need to unbury in order for us to move forward anew. Venus, the planet of unconditional love and values, aligning with the moon right here before the new moon in Aries, is allowing us to get in line with our heart space, to get in alignment with our unconditional love, and to get in alignment with our values and how those values influence the relationships we have and how we turn up in those relationships. So seeing this alignment with Saturn and our boundaries, then this alignment with Venus, our relationships, is really asking us to get behind ourselves, get behind our authenticity, and how that authenticity and that inner knowing is reflected in our outside world. How we turn up in our relationships shows how we value both ourselves and others, and allows us to give and receive love in unconditional ways, sometimes with conditions, sometimes with exceptions. But the important part of this retrograde period is knowing that these conditions are what hamper us. These conditions are what hold us back from our love and acceptance, allowing us to release those conditions to enable us to stand in our inner knowing. Then the moon is going to make a connection with Neptune in void of course. Neptune is still sitting between Pisces and Aries, getting ready to shift into that Aries energy where it will stay for several months before shifting back into Pisces to wrap up the year, to then move into Aries to stay for the next 14 years. So this alignment in void of course is very raw and authentic, as these planetary bodies are not influenced by these zodiac signs. It is simply sitting between these energies. It is sitting in the liminal energies, allowing us to sit with our dreams, sit with our visions, sit with our beliefs, and see how those things are in alignment with our inner self, with our soul, with our core being, with our emotional self, allowing us to get behind our dreams and to see which dreams are our own. This shift of Neptune between Pisces and Aries is really going to shift us from this cyclic energy of holding those dreams that are expected of us to moving into those dreams and beliefs that are of our own, allowing us to see that our spirituality, our belief systems, the way that we see and value things is really, truly important to how we turn up in our world, how we go towards our dreams, how we bring things into being, how we create, allowing us to align this energy right here before this new moon in Aries is very powerful. It's very powerful bringing all of these planetary bodies into alignment with our inner self before our inner self comes into alignment with our outer self. So letting us know that our dreams and our visions are our own, and aligning in this void of course before Neptune shifts into Aries, before it is influenced by a new cycle, a new beginning, a new movement through the astrological cycle. After that, we see the moon align with Mercury, who is still in Aries, but will be shifting back into Pisces tomorrow. It'll be shifting back into Pisces right after the moon and sun align at the new moon, completing its retrograde cycle in Pisces before it moves back forward and it back into Aries. Mercury will be going direct on the 7th of April, so we still have a lot of retrograde energy going on. So this alignment of Mercury, our communication centers, our messages, the way that we tell our story, the way that we take those stories from the universe and digest their message, and how we allow those messages to influence the way that we communicate, the way that we turn up, the way that we give of ourselves from this mental realm, the way that we think, our mindsets, the ways that we digest things is truly important. Mercury retrograde is all about looking at the forms of communication, the way that our mind works, the mindsets that we have, the pathways, the mental pathways that we're moving through, this neurological aspect of ourself, to see what needs to be brought to light, to see what mindsets are holding us back, to see what forms of communication are being miscommunicated, are not giving of the true story. So this alignment with the moon and Mercury is allowing us to bring our inner self, our perception of self, into alignment with the messages that we are giving and receiving, allowing us to see whom we are and how we project that image out into the world. enabling us to see where we need to shift and change our story, where we need to shift and change the ways that we are communicating to allow us to stand in our authentic power. These alignments with all these different planetary bodies, with the moon, with our inner self, this energy of alliance, before we see the sun and moon coming into alignment for the new moon in Aries, is giving us an important opportunity to shift the way that we are in ourselves and allow ourselves to come into alignment to be more authentic. The sun and moon in alignment is bringing our outer and inner selves into balance, the two dualities of ourself, our outer expression of self and our inner expression of self into alignment. The sun and the moon come into alignment every 28 days as we work through the lunar cycles, every time in a different zodiac cycle, marking our movement through the astrological year. The alignment of the moon and the sun in Aries is the beginning of a new zodiac cycle. It is the beginning of a new cycle of this alignment of inner and outer self. In the sign of Aries, the cardinal fire sign, the sign of I am, the energy of the individual, this energy of renewal and rebuilding and starting anew. The alignment of the moon with these planetary bodies prior to the alignment with the sun is asking us to align our structures, the ways that we turn up, the routines and habits that we have, with our dreams, with our visions, with where we want to create and go forward, with our beliefs, with the ways that we give love, especially the way that we love ourselves, and the ways that we communicate all of these things, allowing us to bring these energies into alignment before we step into this alignment of self, this new astrological cycle, the Lunar New Year, this ability to allow us to shift and move forward. Now this is going to be a partial solar eclipse as well. And with it being in Aries, it is ending the last eclipse cycle. We are now in the eclipse cycle of Virgo and Pisces, moving away from this Aries Libra eclipse cycle that we worked through for the last 18 months. So this partial solar eclipse, this new moon in Aries, is really going to end that cycle that we were working through, that was working between our balance of our relationships, our balance of how we see our outer world with our inner world, and shift us into this axis of Virgo and Pisces. Very powerful energies setting us up to really move into our newest form of self. New moons are about recreating ourselves from the lessons that we have learnt moving through the lunar cycle, moving through those connections of the planetary bodies as the moon shifts around us here on Earth, forming all these different alignments with our planetary bodies. These planetary bodies all moving so close together is really very powerful to the cycles we are working through, the cycles of endings and beginnings, the cycles of renewal, the cycles of death and rebirth, and this ability to put things to rest, to move forward, asking us to get behind ourselves in order to move forward, to get behind ourselves in order to move into this energy of taking action for the self, allowing us to see where we can begin anew and to see where we can put things to rest by bringing ourselves into alliance with ourselves, acting for ourselves, loving for ourselves, holding the values for ourselves, holding our own beliefs, working towards our own dreams, and communicating this all in ways that are loving, in ways that are in alignment with ourself on both levels of being, our true inner self that we know and the outer self that we reflect, allowing us to bring these things together so we are reflecting ourselves in our wholeness, we're reflecting ourselves in our authenticity, we're being ourself and allowing the world to see who we truly are in our ever-changing self, and a reminder that cycles will end and begin, and that we have the power to step forward and renew at any stage. We have the power to change our activities, change our boundaries, change the ways that we are turning up, change the ways that we are acting towards our dreams, changing the relationships we have, changing the values that we have, changing the beliefs that we have, shifting our dreams towards things that are more in alignment with us, and finding these new forms of communication that come from deep within that are true to whom we are. Today is all about finding who we are, how we're going to turn up, and allowing us to take this moment to understand that we are ever changing, that we have the ability to change and grow with each step that we take, allowing ourselves to get ready for this powerful solar eclipse, this powerful new beginning that is coming our way.